At 1 a.m. in the Strait of Hormuz, a third of the world's seaborne oil is moving through a channel so narrow that the right position on the right piece of rock can threaten all of it. No announcement, no ultimatum, no signal across any diplomatic channel that anything is coming, just darkness over water and something enormous already in motion inside it. Before we dive in, comment where you are watching from and click subscribe. The Strait of Hormuz is not an abstraction. It is a physical bottleneck, 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, through which roughly 17 million barrels of crude oil pass every single day. Disrupt it and you do not inconvenience a market, you reshape one. Every nation with a navy understands this. Every nation without one fears it. Sitting at the most constricted section of that passage is a small island. 12 square kilometers of rock and fortified installation occupying the one position from which a determined force can observe, threaten, or interdict virtually everything that moves through the strait. For years, that island has been held by forces answering to Tehran. That is the fact that tonight is about to permanently change. The first CH-47 Chinook crosses the coastline at 40 feet above the water. Think of that as roughly the height of a 4-story building, except the building is moving at combat approach speed and the floor is open ocean. The rotor wash kicks white foam off the surface below. No navigation lights, no transponder signal. The pilots are flying on night vision equipment, the world compressed into green and black geometry. The horizon, a thin luminous line between sea and sky. Inside the cabin, 32 soldiers sit in full kit. Rifles, body armor, breaching charges, medical packs. Nobody speaks. The briefing was 3 hours ago. Everyone in that cabin knows the objective, knows the timeline, and knows with complete precision what happens if the timeline slips. Behind that first aircraft, there are more. Many more, but they are not flying in formation. Formation flying creates a radar signature, a thermal bloom, a recognizable pattern that an experienced operator can identify in a single sweep and report in the time it takes to transmit a sentence. So instead, the aircraft are staggered. Different altitudes, different intervals, different approach vectors. Any single radar sweep catches nothing but noise. Where the full picture is invisible to any single observer, the full picture is the weapon. At 1:17, the intelligence that made this night possible has been 18 months in the making. Not satellite imagery alone, though there was plenty of that. Human assets embedded in the region, signal intercepts parsed by analysts who spent 600 days mapping a single island's defensive architecture down to the placement of individual sandbag positions. The operation was rehearsed 11 times across different scenarios, different contingencies, different failure points, stress tested until the planners were confident they had accounted for every variable they could imagine. The ones they could not imagine are the ones that keep commanders awake at night, but there is no more time for imagining. The aircraft are already in the air. The fewer than 40 people on Earth know the full scope of what is about to happen. 4,000 soldiers, one night, one island. At 1:44, the first wave does not land. It orbits. 3 kilometers offshore, the lead Chinooks hold position while the Apache gunships push forward. The AH-64 Apache is a purpose-built attack helicopter. Think of it as a flying sniper nest that also carries rockets. It moves fast. It sees in the dark through forward-looking infrared sensors which detect heat the way a camera detects light. The pilots can see everything on that island that has a temperature above its surroundings. 2 guards at the northern radar installation moving in a slow patrol loop, a vehicle near the communications tower, engine running, exhaust signature burning white in the display, a cluster of bodies in the primary barracks, most of them still, most of them asleep. The Apaches do not fire yet. Rules of engagement, the specific conditions that must be met before weapons can be released, require positive identification before the first trigger is pulled. The pilots work through their confirmation checklist with the quiet precision of people who have done this before and understand exactly what it costs when it goes wrong. At 1:51, the confirmation arrives over the radio. One word, a code. The Apaches stop watching. The first Hellfire missile covers the distance to the radar installation in less than 4 seconds. The explosion is visible from the orbiting Chinooks, a bright white flash, then orange, then a column of smoke rising against the stars. Before that smoke has time to spread, a second missile is already in flight. We're targeting the backup generator that powers the communications array. The third targets the vehicle near the tower. That vehicle is not just a vehicle, it is a mobile radar unit, the crucial final component of an early warning network that under any normal set of conditions should have detected the approaching helicopters more than 20 minutes ago. It did not because someone spent 18 months identifying the exact approach angle and altitude that fell inside the gap between its detection arcs. That gap was 340 meters wide. The pilots flew straight down the middle of it. At 2:03, the A-10 Thunderbolts arrive from the northwest, flying in pairs. The A-10 is not a subtle aircraft. It was not designed for subtlety. It was built around a single weapon, the GAU-8 rotary cannon. Not a gun so large and so powerful that the rest of the airframe exists primarily to carry it to a target and absorb the recoil when it fires. The gun fires at 3,900 rounds per minute. The sound it produces is not a sound in the conventional sense. It is a physical event, a tearing in the air. There are 3 hardened defensive positions on the island's southern ridge that the Apaches could not safely engage without risk of hitting the planned landing zones. That is the A-10's problem to solve. It solves it in 6 minutes. The southern ridge positions return fire for approximately 40 seconds. Then they stop by 2:09. The landing zones are clear. At 2:11, the Chinooks do not land all at once. A mass landing creates a mass target. It gives a defender one concentrated moment to respond with everything available: mortars, wood anti-armor, massed small arms, potentially inflicting catastrophic losses before the assault force can disperse. So the landing is sequenced. First chalk lands, secures the perimeter, signals clear. Second chalk touches down 30 seconds later, while the first is already moving toward its objective. Third chalk lands as the second reaches contact distance with the communication center. By the time the last helicopter is down, the early objectives are already being cleared, room by room. The soldiers move in fire teams, 3 to 4 per group. They do not move in straight lines. They move in arcs, using terrain, using the burning wreckage of the radar installation as cover, using the darkness and confusion that the Apache strike deliberately created. The defenders who survived the initial strike are not amateurs, they are trained. Some of them are veteran operators who have held this island for years, but they are operating blind. Their radar is gone, their primary communications link is gone, their backup generator is gone. They cannot call for reinforcement. They cannot transmit a situation report. They cannot reliably locate all the threats because the assault force is hitting multiple objectives simultaneously, arriving from multiple directions at once. Even a trained mind struggles to process that kind of multi-vector pressure without information, without communication, without a coherent picture of what it is actually facing. At 2:29, the communication center falls. It falls because it was always the priority, not for what it is, but for what it prevents. A functioning communications link means Tehran knows. Tehran knowing means Tehran can respond. So the assault team assigned to that building does not simply fight through it, they strip it. Every terminal, every transmitter, every device that might carry a signal off the island is either captured or destroyed in place. The room goes dark and silent. The island becomes, for all practical purposes, a sealed box. Outside, the fight for the high ground reaches its critical phase. The elevated positions on the central ridge, the control nodes for whatever remains of the defensive network, are held by a small, determined force laying down disciplined fire into the approaches. 3 American soldiers take hits over the next 7 minutes. 2 are walking wounded, 1 is not. A team medic works under fire in a drainage ditch while his teammates suppress the ridge. The casualty report moves up the chain at 0234, reaching the operational commander in real time because the one asymmetry this mission holds that the defenders do not is a functioning communications network running on encrypted frequencies the enemy cannot monitor. The ridge falls at 241. Not because the defenders give up, they do not, but a flanking maneuver executed through terrain that pre-mission reconnaissance had identified as traversable puts assault teams on three sides at once. There is no defensive doctrine that makes a three-sided engagement survivable with the numbers available. Across the strait in Iranian naval facilities, the first fragmented reports are beginning to arrive. A patrol boat that passed within 12 kilometers of the island at 1:30 reported nothing unusual, because at 1:30 there was nothing on the surface to see. A coastal observation post that should have received a check-in from the island garrison at 2 o'clock received silence instead, which could indicate a communications malfunction, which is not automatically a crisis. A signals intelligence unit picked up what might have been encrypted transmissions near the strait around 2:15, but the source was moving, the signal was brief, and the analyst could not confirm a pattern. Each piece of information considered alone is ambiguous. The missing check-in could be equipment failure. The encrypted transmissions could be commercial shipping. The brief thermal signatures caught on a satellite pass at 1:45 could be anything. Fishing vessels run at night in these waters. It takes a human analyst examining all the pieces simultaneously to understand that what they are looking at is not a collection of random anomalies. It is a single coordinated event designed from the ground up to look like nothing until it is too late to matter. That realization arrives in Tehran at 3:12 a.m. By then, the island has been under American control for 11 minutes. At 3:01, the operational command net crackles with confirmation. The island is secure, key positions are held, the defensive network is neutralized, casualties are being evacuated, the force is consolidating. From the island's highest point, a rocky outcrop at the northern tip offering a 340-degree view of the strait, an observation team is already establishing its watch position. Optical systems, thermal imaging, signals collection equipment, all of it coming online in the first gray light of a dawn that is still more than 2 hours away. From this position, every vessel transiting the strait can be tracked, every naval movement in the surrounding waters can be monitored, every aircraft within range can be identified. The island is not a piece of terrain, it is a sensor platform, a communications relay, a fire control position, and a statement, all of it wrapped in 12 square kilometers of rock. Whoever holds this island holds the information that defines the strait, and the information that defines the strait defines everything that flows through it. At 4:47, the sun is not yet up. A container ship registered in Singapore is 19 kilometers to the east, its crew asleep in shifts, its automated navigation system steering it through the dark with no knowledge of what has just changed in the waters around it. Its cargo will arrive on schedule. Its owners will read the news in the morning. They will understand before the official statements are issued what this means for the cost of every future transit through the strait, for every insurer calculating premiums on vessels that pass through it, for every refinery waiting on delivery on the other side. 4,000 soldiers, one night! The operation was not announced because operations of this kind are never announced until the moment for announcement has passed, until the facts on the ground are established, until the question of whether it could be done has been replaced by the reality that it was. In the coming hours, there will be statements. There will be crisis calls, emergency sessions, diplomatic activity in capitals across the region and beyond. All of that will happen, but it will happen in the context of a new geography. One in which the narrowest point of the world's most critical maritime choke point is no longer held by the same hands that held it yesterday. The rules of this waterway were written over decades in blood and oil and political calculation. Last night, 4,000 soldiers rewrote one of them. The island is held, the strait watches, and the silence before the world responds.